Okay, so today we're diving into a subject that really sits at this interesting crossroads of extreme beauty and, well, extreme biology, the Flowerhorn Cichlid.
It's a fascinating one.
Yeah, we've gathered notes for you from, longtime fish keepers, researchers, and what comes out is this picture of a fish that's completely man-made.
Right, engineered.
Exactly. And intensely controversial, valued around the world, not just for stunning colors, but for one very specific and honestly kind of polarizing physical feature.
It's less an ornamental fish and more,
Mhm.
I guess, an engineered showpiece.
Hmm.
It really makes you ask some tough questions about where selective breeding ends and, creating something almost totally new begins.
That's it perfectly. So our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack the sources, try to get a handle on that tension.
Hmm.
We need to look at its highly prized aesthetics, talk about the undeniable reality of its aggression, its potential ecological impact.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And then try to decode this strange sort of two-tiered global market that decides which fish are worth a fortune and, well, which ones just end up in your local pet store.
We're basically exploring what happens when human selection isn't just for survival, but for, pure visual drama.
Okay, let's unpack this then. What happens when our human desire creates an organism that people simultaneously, revere for its looks, but also kind of fear for its behavior?
What's really fascinating here is that the flowerhorn's identity as a hybrid immediately sparks controversy. It's not a naturally occurring species, right?
Right.
And among, let's say, dedicated, lifelong fish keepers, this often leads to a kind of reluctance. Yeah, our sources mention one really seasoned hobbyist who, despite decades of experience with difficult fish, just couldn't bring themselves to keep this particular hybrid.
Wow.
It seems to represent a sort of philosophical line for a lot of people in the hobby.
That really sets the stage, doesn't it? People are drawn to them, yet maybe ethically put off.
Exactly.
So why the irresistible pull then? What's the draw?
Oh, it's pure visual spectacle. I mean, the flowerhorn is celebrated for its incredible vibrancy.
The colors are amazing.
They really are, often displaying these pleasing, unique patterns, sometimes called pearls, across the body. It's just a very striking fish, and that's entirely by design.
But the feature that really defines this fish, the one that causes the most debate, has got to be that massive head hump, right?
Yes, the forehead hump, known sort of affectionately, I guess, as the coke.
Coke.
And interestingly, our source author actually called it the fish's least attractive feature.
Really? Least attractive.
Yeah, yet it's precisely that feature that commands the highest prices and the most recognition, especially when it's really pronounced in the male flowerhorn.
Wait, hang on. So the feature that gets aesthetically criticized, this big bulbous forehead, is actually the gold standard commercially.
Precisely. It's a total paradox of market preference. It just shows the extreme pressure breeders apply to get that specific exaggerated look.
So bigger is better, basically.
Bigger cock, more dominant look.
Yeah.
And historically, higher status, higher price tag. It kind of transforms the fish from just a pet into this living, swimming sculpture defined by this very specific and, let's be honest, hydrodynamically questionable feature.
It's like a badge of success for that breeding line. And that intense selection for a dramatic look, it seems to go hand in hand with an equally dramatic temperament.
Absolutely.
So we've covered the visual side. Let's talk about the sharp end of this fish now, the behavior.
Right. We are definitely not talking about some docile, peaceful fish you can just pop into a community tank. No way.
Not a tetra.
Not even close. Given their Cichlid background, often a mix including really aggressive Central American species, the flowerhorn is intensely territorial, highly aggressive.
Okay.
They're robust, they get quite large, and they're absolutely built to be the tank boss.
So if we connect this aggression to the bigger picture, the source material raised some serious flags. We're dealing with a fish that's widely distributed, gets big, is dominant, and crucially, isn't natural. What does that imply for ecosystems if one gets out?
And that's the core ecological worry, isn't it? If a flowerhorn were introduced into a suitable warm freshwater environment, think parts of the southern U.S. or Southeast Asia, maybe it would pose a serious invasive risk.
This isn't just theoretical, is it?
No, not at all. We already know how destructive other invasive cichlids can be. They tend to thrive, they reproduce efficiently, and they dominate native species.
How exactly does that domination play out? What makes them such a threat compared to, say, local fish?
Well, it's really a combo of size and behavior. They're hyper-aggressive predators, for one,
Okay.
and they're also incredibly effective at defending their nests. So they'd likely outcompete native species for food resources,
Hmm.
but perhaps even more damaging, they're known to attack and actually eat the fry and eggs of local fish.
Oh, wow. So they wipe out the next generation.
Potentially, yes. They could effectively eliminate the next generation of native populations in an area. Plus, their territorial nature means they establish themselves fast, and given their size, very few local fish would really stand a chance in a direct fight.
That raises the question, though, how realistic is this threat? I mean, these can be expensive fish, right?
Yeah.
High maintenance. Are people really just dumping them into rivers?
Well, yes, the initial investment for a top-quality adult can be high, but the long-term commitment for caring for a large, aggressive cichlid
Mm.
is really significant.
Right.
Often people buy them as juveniles. They're small, relatively cheap then.
Ah, okay.
But then they realize they just can't handle the full-grown adult that needs this absolutely massive tank set up.
And they grow fast.
They do. And the fact that they're hybrids
Mhm.
also means their genetics are pretty robust. They can tolerate a range of water conditions. They're incredibly hardy.
So they can survive easily if released.
Exactly. That hardiness, combined with maybe a lack of commitment from some owners who weren't prepared, it makes the risk a genuine concern for regulators. It's happened before with other species.
That's a huge, often overlooked dilemma, isn't it? The very traits that make it visually striking, its size, its dominance, are precisely what make it a potential menace outside the aquarium.
It absolutely forces a conversation about responsible ownership.
Yeah.
That has to go hand in hand with any discussion of their beauty.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit from the biological risks to the practical side of actually getting one of these fish. For listeners who might be curious about keeping a flowerhorn, the sources did offer some pretty clear practical advice for starting out.
Yeah, the main takeaway, especially for someone new to flowerhorns, is definitely to start small. Get a juvenile.
Ways that just cost.
Well, cost is a big part of it. A juvenile fish is significantly cheaper than buying a huge adult show specimen. You can save hundreds, maybe even thousands up front.
Okay, that makes sense.
And practically speaking, a juvenile is just much easier to manage initially in a smaller, let's say, starter tank.
Yeah.
But, and this is a big but, that's only temporary.
Right, you have to be clear about the commitment involved here, don't you?
Absolutely. When we talk cichlid size, we mean they get big. Flowerhorns get properly large,
How large are we talking?
easily over a foot long sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So once that juvenile starts to mature, which happens surprisingly quickly, you absolutely must upgrade to a large aquarium.
And large means?
We're not talking just moving up from like a 20 to a 30-gallon tank. This is a major step up. Often you need a tank of 75 gallons, 100 gallons, maybe even more, just to properly manage their size and their aggression.
Wow.
Trying to skip that upgrade, that's just a recipe for a stressed, unhealthy fish, and probably a very unhappy owner too.
It's a huge commitment then. Defines your living space, your budget.
Definitely.
Now let's talk money properly, because this leads us to maybe the most surprising twist in the source material. How the flowerhorn market is actually structured globally.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really interesting. The market essentially operates on this highly segmented two-tiered system. And it's based purely on aesthetic quality. It's kind of ruthless.
You mean the Coke quality control department is pretty strict?
Extremely strict, yeah. Basically, think of your local aquarium shop. That's often where the fish that didn't quite, let's say, win the aesthetic lottery end up.
Okay.
The source material explicitly noted that the fish you usually see locally, the ones that might have slightly dull colors and patterns, particularly near the tail, are typically what breeders consider a rejected batch.
Ejected.
Yeah, they just didn't meet the extremely high standards for pattern clarity, color saturation, or that perfect cuck shape that the premium usually overseas buyers demand.
So hold on, if I walk into my local fish store and see a flowerhorn, chances are I'm looking at what the breeders considered the duds.
Pretty much, yeah. Or at least not the absolute A-grade specimens.
So that completely changes how I view every flowerhorn I've ever seen on display locally. So where did the superstars go then? The A-listers.
They get exported. The really high-quality premium fish, the ones with those vibrant reds, the deep blues, the perfect body shape, and of course the aesthetically ideal large cocks. They're typically sold to overseas buyers.
At a much higher price, presumably.
Oh, a massive premium price. These top-tier fish often don't even appear in the local market because their value is so inflated by that international demand, particularly from collectors in Asia.
This really reveals a powerful economic engine at work, doesn't it? Global demand for aesthetic perfection is literally sorting these fish, acting like an immediate filter for export.
Exactly.
The best get cherry-picked for collectors abroad, and the rest, which are still genetically sound fish, still big, still aggressive, they get left for local consumption.
That's precisely it. What's fascinating is how this global pursuit of the perfect flowerhorn look drives the entire market segmentation. It pushes the less aesthetically perfect fish, but again, still large, still highly aggressive, still needing that huge tank commitment into the local economy.
So they're basically recycling the visually rejected stock to maximize profit from every single batch.
Got it. The market is structured to extract the maximum possible value from every fish produced, all based on these very specific human-dictated beauty standards.
That is just the perfect summary of the whole story, isn't it? It's a man-made, aggressive beauty defined by this controversial coke carrying significant invasive potential. And its very availability down the road at your local shop is basically a function of whether it passed some international fish beauty contest.
It ties everything together, doesn't it? The genetics, the price tag, the looks, and that underlying ecological responsibility.
We've covered a lot of ground today on the Flowerhorn Cichlid, from its hybrid identity and that really polarizing forehead hump.
The coke.
The coat, right?
Yeah.
To the crucial awareness needed about its invasive potential in this highly filtered two-tiered market that dictates who gets which fish.
And that leads us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to kind of mull over or explore on your own.
Yeah.
When we look at a species like this, we see a creature where its highest value comes directly from exaggerating certain traits, the intense colors, the large size, that distinctive cock.
Right, the extremes.
Exactly. But these are often traits that correlate negatively with its ability to integrate harmlessly into almost any environment, even a carefully managed aquarium, let alone the wild. So the question to ponder is, how does this ongoing pursuit of extreme aesthetics in animal breeding fundamentally alter the ethical framework we use for pet production itself?
Something to definitely think about, reflecting on the high price of perfection. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.